as one in harmony. The land is
Here with my dear friend David Lee Redding Graywolf. We're talking about your career today. Yes?
Yeah.
Everyone knows that every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Hopefully we're not at the end yet.
I hope not.
Yeah.
I think you've got a lot more time. Stop counting your eggs before they hatch.
Okay.
Tell me about your beginning.
My beginning is I was in my first local opera when I was 10 years old as a vocalist, and then my sister, who was a concert pianist, taught me how to play piano. Her teacher was Beethoven, so I learned the Beethoven method. Then I got a violin one day and wanted to strike on my own, do something different, and turned it sideways one day and found a pick, and then my mom's Sears guitar. And then the rest is history regarding guitar. But then, of course, I full circled around later on back in my life and did all those things. Yeah. And my other sister was a theater major, so that's how I got into acting.
Are they older or younger than you?
Older.
Okay, so they're older than you.
Yeah.
So they're older than you, and they influenced your love of music, or at least you saw what they were doing and it interested you. 10 years old is really young.
Yeah.
To sing in an opera.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't entirely extravagant, but it was, pretty good, I guess, for a 10-year-old. But, yeah, every Sunday, Mom would make lunch, and after a very extravagant meal she worked on all night before in the morning, I would go listen to records. And my brother had Kiss records and jazz fusion records, like Return to Forever, one of my favorites, Al Di Meola and Stanley Clarke in that group, who both influenced me as a guitarist and bassist. And then my other sister had the soundtrack to Funny Lady with Barbra Streisand.
The Babs.
And then my other sister, I listened to her rehearse Chopin and tear it up in the afternoons. The funny thing now I think about Barbra Streisand, I was shooting a TV thing in Beaufort, Pop's Place, by Thomas Blitch, and we did a scene where I'm a bad guy as usual, and I'm stabbing the ground, looking up. I'm a murderer guy, and then the camera guy says, "Hey, move the knife closer."
And you stabbed yourself in the leg.
I stabbed myself. What an idiot, right? And that's why I ended up with this cane. But now it's a cool prop. I still have the marks, but it was pretty funny. But the funny thing is, I was actually staying in the same room that Barbra Streisand did when she shot a movie there. Same areas. I mean, Nick Nolte had shot a movie there. A bunch of
Nick
other people.
Nolte.
Yeah, and so the joke is I bled all over Barbara's bed, because once I stabbed myself, we were all laughing about it, and then by the middle of the night, I realized the pain was starting to come, because you know how if you have an injury
You're in
the next
shock.
morning. Yeah. So I went up to go to the bathroom, and I tried to grab onto the towel rack, broke it, then I fell on the ground, boom, boom, and I drugged myself with my body like Lieutenant Dan.
Why
and
were
by the
you-
way, that movie we shot around there too. And I finally ended up sleeping in my underwear in the middle of the carpet, and there's blood everywhere. The director walks in, he goes, "Looks like Helter Skelter in here."
Do you understand that most likely you reenacted a scene from Sid and Nancy, the Alex Cox movie?
That's
from
funny. I had a relationship
1885.
like that. Yeah.
More you want to
No, I'm kidding. I'm exaggerating. I'm exaggerating.
So it seems that you injured yourself a little bit on some of these scenes, and you're really dedicated to it. Are there any other injuries you want to share?
Well, yeah. I'm kind of proud of my injuries. I don't like them, but when they happen, I try to make light of it and make it funny. And so my first injury, my favorite, was when I was in wrestling, because I used to be a jock, believe it or not. And I had a guy in a hold. I didn't have my mouth gear, and his head came up, hit here, bit my lip off, blood's going everywhere. He's got blonde hair, looked beautiful. But I won the match. But my most recent was when our band Gravity was in Europe, and you can't see it now, but I had a giant round hole with white skin around there. And the first day before we ever started the tour, this last summer, this dog mauled my hand. And I forgave the dog, you know. But it was kind of funny because I couldn't really do slap bass because I play bass with Gravity. I sing lead and play bass, 6-string bass. But I couldn't really slap, but I could still use these guys. So I tried to slap with these, which was difficult. But after every concert, since it's our rock group, we're kind of like a Deep Purple type of style. After every concert, there'd be like a little blood dripping out from my ace bandage, and everybody's like, yeah!
So they thought it was part of the show, like something with, like Alice Cooper or Marilyn Manson?
I don't know what they thought. I couldn't understand them anyway.
So you're talking about going to Europe.
Yeah.
You are very well traveled. What is your favorite destination to play?
Africa, Caribbean, Europe.
Why?
No, I'm thinking out loud. Oh my gosh. So hard to say. I really like Slovakia and how well they treat us. They're very much like the cousins of the Czechs. And we played in front of thousands of people in Plazy. But I don't know. For some reason, one of my favorite shows was probably in a little town called Tbilisi. And there were probably only 50 people at this one. But they were really into it, and they really understand. And when I sang the song Great Wakan, which is about Wakantanka, when I did this, they knew what I was talking about. They understood the depth of the songs. And I don't try to be over deep and tacky, but you know, if you make the right gestures, even though sometimes they don't understand the language, they know what you're talking about. You know, I talk about unity, I talk about, you know, connectedness, you know, great spirit, etc.
And music is a universal language. Obviously, it's given you the ability to travel and to go to all these different places.
I would have never been there if I didn't. I'm not staying in a Holiday, not a Holiday Inn. No, I'm not staying in a Ritz-Carlton, getting served by an Italian, and that's the only experience I have with the people. When I used to go to Puerto Rico. I haven't been there in a while, but when I went to Puerto Rico, I stayed with ex-family members. But you know, if you're married to a Puerto Rican, you're always
continue to be
mafia.
continue to be your family.
Yeah, you never leave. But you know, I stayed in those homes with the bars on the windows. You know, when I went to Africa, I visited the Maasai tribe, which takes miles off the main road to go see through lion country with these guys that do the jumping thing. You know, with the ears. You know, I like to see the real people.
Where in Africa did you go?
Uganda and mostly Kampala, then flew over Lake Victoria to Kenya. This is where Maasai are.
Okay.
And I brought back some wonderful gifts, some monitor lizard covered drums, which I've used on some of my recordings, because you know I have my own solo thing, as well as Gravity, as well as the acting, as well as my classical stuff that I do solo.
You're everywhere.
Yeah.
And with everyone. So you've played with a lot of different people.
Yeah, I've probably been in 50 to 100 different performance situations, I think. But eventually my goal is to just do my rock band, my solo stuff on the side. My solo stuff is kind of cool, but sometimes it gets a little weird. And you have to have an acquired taste, and like Frank Zappa probably. And I want to do my acting. I want to expand upon my acting.
Don't eat the yellow snow. You remember that, Frank?
Yeah.
So you're one of those artists that really is an artist. It's not just music. There's also acting, and you combine the two.
Right.
And you have done a lot of characters that really bend gender lines a little bit and go back and forth, and you seem very comfortable with that. Mm-hmm. Are there any times where you're like, ooh, I'm blurring the lines a little too much, let me go back?
No.
No, never.
This interview's over. I'm just kidding. No, you're probably referring mostly to my newer videos called Field of Horses, where I'm wearing a corset and booty shorts. But here's what's funny. I did that on purpose, so I could pull people out of the closet who don't have an open mind. And sure enough, I got the phone calls started coming in, and it was really more about proving I can act and be anybody. If you've seen my actor, it's called David Lee Rating Actor. It's an acting video. I do like 16 characters, and I go for, hey, this is Joey Maloney Coda. Hey, shut up, you know. And then I go to, I love Bubba sleeping on my tummy watching football on Sunday after we got home from church, you know. And then I'm this 60-year-old career stripper lady with a blonde wig on. Hi, I'm Cherry. You know, so it's fun to be comfortable enough with yourself and who you are to be able to bend not only gender but just people and act and different characters and pull it off.
Be the character.
Be the character, yeah.
Do you have a favorite character?
Yeah. The role I was born to play. Judas in Jesus Christ Superstar. Listening to that soundtrack, the original soundtrack with Ian Gillan from Deep Purple, and then we had Murray Head, who was the Judas part. And I always loved Judas's part because he seemed more crazy and emotional. Now, you know, Jesus had amazing dynamic songs in there. And I could be happy playing him. And when I auditioned for Jesus Christ Superstar, I thought they were going to give me Jesus, because at the time I had longer hair. I still kind of have some, but they threw me in Judas's part, because I auditioned with Heaven on Their Minds, which is Judas's opening song in the show. But that was a dream for me. I told my buddy, he worked at the theater, I said, if they ever mention Jesus Christ Superstar, please call me immediately. He did. That weekend, I was having a tiff with a partner. I was taken off to St. Augustine, and I just got hired somewhere at a guitar place. And I said, you know what? I'd be happier losing this gig I just acquired and not dealing with this partner, and just on a tiff go audition for Jesus Christ Superstar. I just rushed home within an hour, grabbed my guitar, went in there, did Heaven on Their Minds. I taught the keyboardist on stage how to play the chords, and this is a shining moment for me. Is, you know, when you're in those auditions, it's a big theater, and all you see is shadows. It's very ominous. And then after I did the song, the directors and stagehands, whatever, 3 people or so, got up and gave me a standing ovation. So, because I did that song, I got Judas's part, which I was kind of happy for. But that's probably the best role I ever did, you know.
And you've done Rocky Horror as well.
Rocky Horror. That was a tough one. I mean, I'd rather do I'm just a sweet, you know, that guy. But they needed somebody in 2 weeks, and that part was already cast. So I had 2 weeks to lose my stomach and work out. I mean, everywhere I went, hey, what's up? You know, with the dumbbells, right? And I did it because I used to be a jock. I used to be kind of muscular.
I can see it. I've seen some of the album covers, and I was like, wait a minute, you
the same guy?
Yeah, is this the same guy?
So I had 2 weeks to buff up, get cleavage, and fit in a Speedo. And but of course, you know, when I did that role, I also put my own style into it, you know. So I'm kind of known for those kind of Toto-esque kind of runs. So I didn't sing it exactly like him, and everybody kind of expects me to do that stuff, at least within moderation.
Right.
So, you know, I put my own stamp on it.
So we've got acting, we've got music, we've got going to Europe, but one of the things that also you're known for in the community is your students, and for those that you teach.
Oh, yeah.
What made you decide to start teaching?
My mom, she said, boy, you better get out of that girl's house and go get a degree. Get
an honest living.
Yeah, so I did. I got a music ed degree, and I taught at many high schools and private schools around the area. And then I started my own business teaching, and now I'm trying to get some of that online, virtual lessons, which I've had to do, you know, recently especially. And once I got into it, it turns out a lot of these students are like family. I mean, they invite me over for Thanksgiving. Oh, poor David is probably sitting home lonely. You know, he's probably hungry. Here, let's send him some food. And I'm like,
And we interconnect. I'm one of your former students.
that's right. You took bass.
Yes, I took bass. I did all right.
You did great.
Thank you. And a lot of them, and you are a known teacher, and you do leave your imprint on your students
And
in a good way.
I'm not
You
sure
had to
what
think about
means.
that. You're like, I'm not sure what that means. No, you do leave your imprint on your students. Do you take what part of that into your acting as well? Because you're around all these different characters or different learning speeds when you're teaching.
Okay. Teaching and performing are very similar in that you have to always be on. You're kind of performing when you're teaching. I don't mean in a fake way, but I mean you have to be exuberant and encouraging, and you can't be like, oh, this kid. It's not just kids, by the way. I have 88-year-old students as well. So that kind of relates to the acting in the sense that you have to make sure that you conserve your energy. You have your own alone time in your life, which is sometimes hard, so you're re-energized to give to the people you're giving to, whether it be an audience or a student or band members or someone you're hanging out with. The one thing I want to say about the acting is that when you see my particular, I only have one acting, well, I have clips from different shows, but I have actually a promo acting video on my YouTube, and people go, who are you? And I go, I am all those people. I'm the obnoxious mafia guy that wants to control you. I am a redneck. I am a recluse that lives with his mom in a 3-story house that doesn't want to go outside with his hair pulled in his face. You know, I am, all those are aspects of who I am. And what I want to tell people is that you too have all those different aspects, and not to be afraid to explore them, but bring them out in moderation when you need them for different situations. Just don't get unbalanced is the key, I guess.
How did you get into flamenco?
Flamenco. My son's Spanish, Miguel, and his mom taught me Spanish at the time, and before that I was listening to Return to Forever, of course, and Paco de Lucia, and since I studied classical guitar in college and jazz guitar, it was a natural progression to move to that. So that, if you listen to me in my solo stuff from the past, you'll hear a rock guitar and then might go into a real quick classical little something, and then you'll go, that sounds like flamenco, but hopefully I combine it all together to where it's not schizophrenic. And then of course I sing in Spanish. A lot of times if I don't practice with my friends, I forget my Spanish a little bit, but when it comes to Bambaleo, porque mi vida yo la, you know,
Bambaleo, Maria Dolores.
Or Bésame, Bésame mucho. Yeah. So, anyway.
Have you ever heard the Spanish national anthem?
No.
You should probably listen to it.
Really?
It's very prideful.
Is it like Granada? Granada!
Better than Granada.
Oh, okay.
It's very bombastic,
Oh,
as they say in
cool.
musical terms.
Yeah, yeah.
So you mentioned your son,
Yeah,
who also plays music.
yeah. I was in a band with him for a while. He hired me.
He hired you.
17-year-old.
How'd that work out?
Fine. I just stayed in my corner, did my thing. He's the one that got me into 6-string bass, because Dad, we can't find a bassist. Okay. And then eventually I got to enjoy it, and that's what I do mostly, is 6-string in particular, because I get those high notes and do cool little quick fills that no one notices. Dum 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 dum. I didn't do that. Dum dum. You know. And so he wrote, back in the day, he's doing different stuff now, but he was doing like what you call European power metal. And so it's very melodic, a lot of vocals, and very tasteful guitars, solos. He does, back in the day, he was a shredder. He kicked my butt in terms of metal guitar goes. He was the singer, and he wrote the music, and we played around, and we were stars for 20-year-olds for about 3 years.
The student became the teacher.
a student, I guess.
He hired you.
Yeah.
When you were the authoritarian figure.
You know, it's funny, when I first started teaching him music, he was much younger. He was only allowed to play acoustic guitar. And then when he graduated to electric guitar, which, by the way, we borrowed from a friend of ours whose brother died in United 93.
Oh, wow.
And here's the other connection. We're big fans of Nuno Betancourt.
Nuno.
So that was a Nuno Betancourt guitar, and my son was only allowed to play without the amp on the electric guitar for another year or two. I held him off from the amplifier for many years because I wanted to make sure he had clarity and he didn't hide behind anything.
Right.
Nuno being, I played with Steve Vai too, right? So I would say Nuno, I'm not going to compare the two, but Steve Vai has this wonderful spiritual weirdness about him, and Frank Zappa-ness because he was in Frank Zappa's band. But Nuno's a very tasteful, bluesy, jazzy player with a clean tone that I love.
And the thing about Nuno is that he is very underrated. It's a name that comes up, but it's usually amongst people that have studied music for a very long time.
What I found funny is I was into Rihanna for a while, and when you listen to a lot of these R&B albums, it's very cut and dry, and just synchronized and produced, which is fine because I still love her voice, and like Umbrella, I still love. But she hired Nuno to play guitar for her live and tour, and I was so jealous.
That'd have been a good job. I think that's a good gig.
But when you see them live, she opens up the floodgates and he's soloing his butt off, so they get a lot more freedom, and having been involved in all these genres, I even did the bluegrass thing one time. I'm not sure I was that good at it, but having been involved in all these genres, I see that they're all pretty much the same thing. To me, life is really classical, blues, or jazz. And I see that in terms of mentality as well. One of my favorite sayings is, plan your life like a classical piece by Mozart or Tadego or Beethoven, whoever. Be prepared. If not a day before, be great if it was 2 weeks before. But realize life is fluid, and something's going to happen tomorrow morning that you didn't plan on, and you're going to have to be a jazz improvisationalist.
So tell me more about jazz and how important it is to you.
I just performed with Christian D'Amelio last night, and they give me lots of freedom to be myself. I'm their edge, I listened and grew up with Gino Vanelli's music. I'm really into Michael Bublé stuff. I like his style. I'm kind of a jazz singer trapped in a rocker's body.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah. And what I've been trying to tell my bands for the last few years is, listen, just let me croon. Rock style is going to be so much better. For years I've been known for that guy that can hit the high Iron Maiden, Toto / Journey notes. But if you do that the entire song, it's no longer exciting. Like, hey, can you kiss me first?
Go straight in for the kill, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't know how good that sounds.
That didn't sound very appropriate.
Sorry.
That's all right. We knew what you mean.
Yeah, if we were meaning this to be PC, then I think it went out the window.
Yeah. I just died in your arms tonight. We could use that.
Who sang that? The Cars?
No.
Foreigner.
No.
Mr. Mister?
No, not Mr. Mister. I love Mr. Mister. I don't know. Oh my gosh. Our apologies. Okay.
We're gonna have to figure that out.
Yeah.
How was your experience with the Crescendo Amelia Island Big Band?
I love them. I'm pretty happy playing solo, my bossa nova stuff and Girl from Ipanema and all that stuff. I'm not happy doing 4-hour gigs anymore. I'm happy doing festivals where you try to move your amp up to the stage and go, oh, no, Mr. Redding. I'm like, oh, okay. And then you get a lot of money for 1 hour. And of course, my band Gravity is amazing and unique, highly unique over there. Everybody knows it. But it is fun once in a while to pull out my jazz side. And there's 20 brass players behind me, 3 keyboardists, a drummer, and a marimba player. And so you come out and you think you're Dean Martin,
Dean Martin, that's a good comparison.
Yeah.
So one of the things that is very important to you is your native influences. Grey Wolf, the name given to you by your elder. What is it that you want people to know about your spirituality and your connection to native culture?
To me, more than any other culture, the Indians, what they call the Indians, or Native Americans, were probably the most pure and angelic race, because they were always the back players in history, always helping one side out and another side. Unfortunately, they ended up pitting one nation, or what you call a tribe, against another a lot of times, and it kind of separated the Indians. The thing is, they didn't get much credit for that. And if you look on our reservation today, unless it's Cherokee or Seminole, I think they're doing pretty good. But I also want to once again remember that even though I consider them as a whole, generally speaking, one of the more angelic type of cultures and races, even though we had some terrible scalping guys who they, by the way, learned from somebody else. Even they had their faults.
Well, nobody's perfect.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as greed gets in there, it's over. As soon as you're not grateful every day for what you have, it's over. And as soon as you're not thankful for who you have around you, and even if you have just a few items, it's over. And then that's when bad things and sin start coming in.
Right.
The way you treat people, the way your attitude is, your negativity comes in, and that affects everything around you. So, for the most part, I would say that these were some of the most grateful people, to a fault at times, to where they were obviously highly taken advantage of.
No, I think that's evident in the state of the way the world is today, the way the country has gone, and not necessarily a current piece, but history, will tell the tale better than we do.
Yeah, if you can believe it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you worry about, I worry about, is this really what happened, or did somebody write this for me, So all I know is I love the powwows. I need to go visit my elder in what they call the Iron Horse, which is a train. It was a dream I had, believe it or not. That's what happened to Geronimo. He had a dream he was going to take an iron horse, and he didn't know what that was. And he took a train in his final days to be imprisoned in the St. Augustine Castillo de San Marcos. Right?
Castillo de San Marcos. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar.
It's funny because I had not that I'm Geronimo, but I'm just saying I had a similar dream that I was supposed to take at least an Amtrak to see my elder. So hopefully that's going to happen this next year.
Yeah, you should definitely do that.
Yeah. I told him I'll sleep on the porch if you want, But to me, the Indians definitely represented. Okay, Lord of the Rings. Here's my nerdness. Okay, you have Frodo and you have Samwise Gamgee, right? You maybe don't know this. Maybe you're not.
Okay. I never watched Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
But I know who Frodo was.
Okay,
because it was Elijah Wood.
Right. Frodo's the main guy. Samwise Gamgee's in the movie with him the whole time, supporting him on his journey through elves and the bad guys with the with the ugly faces and stuff, and trolls and stuff. Well, you get to the third Lord of the Rings, I think it is, and that's when Frodo's about to throw the evil ring into the fire to save Middle Earth. And suddenly he changes. He goes and turns around this evil face. For the first time in the entire trilogy, he gets this evil look in his eyes, like, I'm going to keep it. greed, ungratefulness, not sticking to what you planned. But guess who never got tempted? Samwise Gamgee, the guy that was the boring character the entire time, that hardly said anything and didn't really pay attention to him. So steadfastness to me, and sometimes the biggest, most obnoxious, loudest people are not the heroes.
No, that's definitely a great analogy to make. Sometimes the guy that's the loudest, and people say that all the time, oh, he who screams loudest gets heard. No, not all the time. They may get heard, but are people really listening?
Right.
Are
Good
people
call.
really listening? Are they really discerning what that person is saying?
Yeah, good call. Yeah, he who speaks the least is the smartest.
So if you look
And I
for the
talk
next
whole time.
20 years, where does David Lee Redding Greywolf's journey take him? Going forward, not backwards. We've talked a lot of backwards.
Okay. Oh, gosh. Well, I'm going to do more acting. I'm going to stay with my band, of course, and I might be done with my solo career soon here. I want to sell my albums on the internet, but, okay, let's see. What's the perfect world? We're touring our band, Gravity's touring, and then I need a good agent, and the agent calls us and says, hey, you guys are off for the next 3 months, Dave. You want to go to South America and do a bossa nova thing? Yeah. Okay. And then I get back, okay, you guys aren't going back on tour till September, so I got a TV show for you to do in August if you want to go to California, So I want to maintain variety and balance, and that's hard to do, but I'm not easily satisfied with one thing, because I've on purpose experienced all these different things, and I had to do that out of necessity when I was younger to survive. Because I get a little money for this instrument teaching it, a little money teaching this instrument, a little money from this gig, a little money from this band, a little money from this wedding I played. I kind of got accustomed to being, but I would like to kind of narrow it down. For instance, I don't want to be in 5 rock groups.
Understood.
I want to be in one genre here, one genre here, one genre here, and then call me when you have at least a side movie role that's independent.
You'll have the balance.
Yeah. So.
I think that's a good way to, spend the next 20 years. Or 50, 30, 40.
Oh, God, who knows? Who knows?
Are you going to be frozen when you die?
I'd like to, but I don't think I have the money to do that. Right? Doesn't that cost a lot of money?
It does cost a lot of money, but you occurred to me as if I had a friend that wanted to be frozen, you would be the one.
Yeah. They used to call me weird, and then they called me creepy. And then finally, J.B. Frank, my good friend from
Kingdom Come,
he finally made me feel a bit better about myself and said, you're just eccentric. So my new album is called Weird, Creepy, Eccentric Other, and there's little check boxes. You get to choose. You get a crayon. Give it to the kids at Denny's, and they can check out which one I am. Of course, I'm wearing a Little Red Riding Hood dress on the cover with Alice Cooper makeup, But a lot of times when I do that stuff, I have some really nice album covers and pictures and things too, but I like the shock value of that, not just to get attention, but I want you to think. I want you to think outside the box. I don't want you to think just because this person's a certain color that they're going to be this certain way. So I'm kind of doing that in a subliminal way. Don't think you know who I am. Take your time to get to know me. I might want to scare you.
There you go.
Just to get something going here, So I'm kind of rebellious, I guess.
You might be.
Yeah.
You got a lot. You got like 40 minutes worth of stuff.
Yeah, and I didn't shut up.
No, that's good. You got a lot of bites.
Yeah, well, I found opportunities to throw in stuff that you may not have thought about,
No, that was good.